here's what we need. In each of these, I see kind of two isolated numbers, right? I see like a -2, and then I see a -10. Okay, and then I see an 8, and I see a -3, and I see a 3 and a -5. Okay, so if I were to build this first one, right, I'm going to kind of try and do it in 2 stages, right? I see a -2, so that means I'm going to take 2 negatives, and I'm going to drop them on the page. Okay, and then the second part of this problem is I see, okay, there's 10 more negatives. Okay, so the second part, let's just drag this out here. Okay, and I wonder if I could copy, if I do 5. Let's see if I can speed this up. So I drag out 5, and then I think I can A. Okay, and then the answer to this question is, and I just finished teaching like the 1P, so I've seen lots of like misconceptions around well, I'm at -2, and then I'm gonna, I don't know, the kids have weird answers. They like do 8th, or like just weird answers, right? The tiles, the tiles cannot lie to you, right? You guys look at this and you're like, okay, -2 and -10, right? How many negative tiles are sitting here, right? You're gonna have, that's gonna equal -12, right? Just by counting 1, 2, so forth, right? There's -12 tiles there, right? So that's, this is like, the tiles don't let you make a sign error. It's just not, it's not possible, right? All you're doing is dragging out pieces, right? So if I look at the next one, again, like most people are okay. Like when you start mixing in the negatives, kids get a little bit like confused, you know, like, okay, well, what's what, and how do I know that that is? I gotta use the eraser. How do I know, like, I've even heard like 2 negatives make a positive, right? And that's true when you multiply, but you're at -2 and you're taking away 10 more. Like we could even introduce for that question. Just give me a sec here. I don't know where it is. A number line, right? This is a pretty good tool. Like this is brand new to me, this tool, but I can see its value, right? Let me just try and slide this all the way over. Okay, if you're standing at, I'm just doing the first question again, just to, I don't know, illustrate to you guys. I'm going to stand at -2, and then it's telling me to take away 10 more. Well, if I'm taking away, it means I'm going to move more towards the negative numbers. How much more? 10. So I'm just going to count my 10 spots, right, all the way until I get to -12, right? And that should be your answer, right? So the number line method works as well, right? And eventually you guys will be able to lose some of these tools, right, where you can just do this stuff in your head. Sorry, I gotta use the eraser too. Okay. But let's take a look. I think most people are okay with the fact that, like, if I have some positive number of something, right? Let me pull these up. It's saying that I'm going to have positive 8 tiles, and then I'm going to take away 3. That one conceptually is okay for most people, right? They don't typically make a mistake taking like a positive number of like 8, right? Sorry, guys. This is the only thing with this. It takes a little bit of time to build these things, but it would probably take a little bit of time to build them in real life too. Right? So you got 8 orange tiles, positive tiles, and then the second part of this is you're introducing these -3 ones as well. Okay? Now, that's, you got 8 minus 3. That's, you've built the question, right? And then you're going to say, okay, well, we're going to create these things called 0 pairs, right? I'm going to put a little text box here. Right? Well, what are 0 pairs? 0 pairs are the pairs that, when the tiles combine, they work out to be a 0, right? And so I could take a positive 1 and a minus 1. That's a 0 pair. Right? Then I can take another one. Right? Okay, well, there's 2 0 pairs there. Well, it looks like I have room for one more 0 pair, right? So you have 3 0 pairs, right? And what is your final answer? Well, it looks like after I've created my 0 pairs, I'm left with 5 positive tiles, right? Or positive 5 is an answer. Okay. Most people don't mess up that sign error, right? Like they have 8 things and they take away 3 of them. It's 8 apples and I take away 3 apples and you arrive at the fact that you have 5. This is kind of where although that seems, and I think this is where people get this impression of the tiles being stupid, right? They're like, I know how to do that. That's easy. But they lose sight of the fact that like they can help you with the ones that like look like this, right? So in the 1p, or I've seen this in the 2p too, kids want to say 3 minus 5 is positive 2, right? That's just not, that's a silly error, right? We don't need to make that error, right? So if I were to build it with the tiles, they're just going to do the exact same thing, right? I'm going to build it, right? There's my positive 3 from the first piece, and then I'm going to go, okay, well, I'm going to take away, I'm just going to, not even take it away, I'm just going to put 5 negative ones on the page too. Right? You're like, okay, well, let's do my 0 pairs, right? I shouldn't have deleted that. Right? You're like, okay, well, let's just start creating 0 pairs. So we can grab this. Oh, not that many. I'll do it one by one. There's a 0 pair. Right? There's a 0 pair. And here's a 0 pair. Right? Well, so those all work out to be 0. 1 minus 1 is 0. 1 minus 1 is 0. 1 minus 1 is 0. Right? What are you left with this question? Just the positive, or the negative 2, sorry. Okay? That's my dog, by the way. My girlfriend likes ordering packages, and then my dogs don't like the Amazon guy or the delivery guy, so you'll hear them bark quite viciously sometimes. Okay. So anyway, that's that. Okay. I suppose like seems like it's an elementary, not an elementary issue. Just like it seems simple enough, right? But you wouldn't believe the number of times that kids go, "Oh, this is positive 2. 8 or 3 minus 5 is positive 2." It's not positive 2. You're at 3 apples and you're gonna take away 5. Look, that's not possible. It almost seems like, right? Right? So you're going into the negatives, like you have to give back 2 apples somehow, right? If you will. Okay, this is what the tiles are used for, and although this might seem simple at the moment, right? When I start mixing in other things, you apply this basic concept to harder problems, okay? And so what we're going to do here, I just want to move through some of this because I want to give you guys, we'll try to wrap up. And then, can we, if you guys can, take 2 seconds, 2 minutes, okay? Can you guys create 3 in as many ways as you possibly can, okay? So I want you guys to kind of like, and this is where the Jamboard thing is going to be nice. I'll show you, we'll get the Jamboard sorted, but basically what Jamboards does is it lets me pull up. All of you can be working at one time, and I can flip through your slides and watch you in real time building things and whatnot, okay? And I can make corrections, and so I just haven't played with it ever before, okay? So I think everybody should just jump. The easiest one to do is to represent 3 in as many ways as you can. Why can't you just go like this? Right? That's okay. But wouldn't there also be another way? Like, why couldn't I just go like this? Right? That's still 3. But all you're doing is building different addition subtraction statements. Right? right? Where those are zero pairs. 1 minus 1 is 0, and then you're still left with just the 3, right? You could do this forever. You could build as many zero pairs as you want, right? That's still 3. It's still 3. You know what I mean? So then, but who's to say that you had to start with, I don't know, who's to say you had to start with the positive ones? Why can't you start with this? That's negative 3, right? Well, how on earth could I get positive 3 from having negative 3? Why couldn't you just go like this? 0 pair, 0 pair, 0 pair. And then what? That's still 3. You'll note that I started with negative 3, right? Everybody saw me start with negative 3 tiles. And then I added in 6 orange ones, or positives, right? Well, that leaves me with 3, positive 3. Okay, this is all we're trying to get at, right? It's not a whole lot in here. It's just multiple representations of things, right? Okay, so this, although seems like silly, and I like, if I had been shown this in grade 9 too, I would have been like, this is silly, right? Like, but I know now where this heads, and what you guys need to do is just buy into it, okay? Although it seems silly, yes, and intuitive, like you could just type that into your calculator. What you can't type into your calculator is what I'm about to show you next. Okay, so we've had this foundation of this. You're going to be laughing moving forward, right? Because how do I represent this? 2x. How do I represent 2x? Well, it looks like I've got some other tiles here. Does it go like this? 2x. Is that 2x? I mean, physically it is. But that doesn't mean anything to me. This looks weird to me, right? 2x simply means we have 2 of these things. Okay? X's are completely different from the 1s, are completely different from the minus 1s, are completely different from the minus x's, are completely different from the x squareds. These are all different things. Okay? As long as we operate under that notion, that just simply means that I can put things that are the like terms, if you will, together, right? I can put the little squares together because they're like terms. I can put the rods together because they are also like terms. And I can put x squareds together because they're like terms. I cannot add an x squared to an x. It's just not possible. And then a 1, right? You've got apples, bananas, and oranges. You can't, they're not going together, right? They don't equal each other. You can't mix them. They're just stuck like that. Okay? So in the event that we're given a question where it says, like, we want to, let's just say you're at a grocery store and, like, you're given a box of fruit, right? Let's get rid of this for a sec. Here's your box of fruit. Let's get rid of these for now. Let's keep it simple. Here's your box of fruit, okay? We'll just throw a whole bunch of these things out here. Right? And your job is to organize the apples with the apples and the bananas with the bananas. That's what's going on, right? So you're like, okay, well, this looks like a giant mess, right? And it is. But you can collect what we call collecting like terms, right, if you will. You can put all the things that are the same together, right? Well, rods go with rods. And then all the little numbers go with the little numbers. Okay. This is nice and neat now. You've taken something that looked like a mess and you've made it a lot neater. Now I'm going to move this over a little bit here. And I'm strategically doing something you guys should know after we just finished talking about it. What am I doing? Okay. So here's the nice, clean, organized group of a basket of fruit, right? And you're now asking yourself, when you've simplified what was there, you had this giant mess and you've simplified it, right? You've simplified it by organizing everything together, right? And you're like, okay, well, let's just deal with this first. What do I have here? Well, this looks like a 0 pair, so that can go away. This looks like a 0 pair, that can go away. This looks like a 0 pair, that can go away. And this looks like a 0 pair, that can go away. Right? Well, same thing here. Look at this. That looks like a 0 pair. Move it. Move it. Move it. What are you left with? You're left with 1x and then a positive 1. Okay? If this is like your simplified version after you've cleaned everything up, right? The question would have looked something like if you were just thrown this basket. The basket would have contained, here, let's just do some moving. The basket would have contained all like 4 green rods, 3 pink or magenta rods, and then 4 orange little squares and 5 orange squares, sorry, and 4 little magenta squares, right? This was your basket, all thrown at you and said, here, go organize it. So you basically have something that looks like this. You have 4 x's. You had plus 5, and then you would have had, okay, it looks like there's some minus x, minus how many minus x's? 3 minus x's, right? And then it looks like, oh, you got minus 4 here. This is what was thrown at you in the basket. And your job was to organize it accordingly, right? And all you did is you grouped the like terms together, right? So we took our 4 green rods, and I looked at it and said, okay, well, I can group the green rods with the negative rods, right? That cleans up the rod portion of the question. And then you organize the sorry guys. Oh, come on. You cleaned up the all the little singles, right? Well, these guys. And then you created 0 pairs, and you had this fully simplified version, right? Of this. I don't know if it's gonna let me move this. No. Where you had 1x plus 1. That was all that was left after you created 0 pairs, right? That's all we're doing. That's the rest of the slideshow. Okay? Without the interactive piece, a little tough, right? So anyway, that's the gist of what we're trying to do here, right? And now, so I suppose okay, let's do this question. Okay, you guys take a sec, build it on your screen, right? It's just a jumble of stuff, right? And if you can do it with the tiles, that's all I'm asking you to do, right? Is build questions, or like you have baskets of fruit thrown at you. That's what this is. It's a basket of fruit that's thrown at you. I want you to organize it so that similar things are with similar things, and then you create 0 pairs, okay? And that's the entire process, okay? This forms such a strong foundation. Like, if you guys can do this, the work going forward will conceptually make so much more sense than this kind of like, I don't know, like X's with X's and things. Like, this is providing context to what's going on here, right? So you guys take 2 minutes here. I want you to build this on your screen, okay? So with 3 X's, okay, and then plus 2. Okay, and when I ask you questions on a quiz or formative or summative, I may say, do this, include a picture, so that you guys actually know what's going on and you don't make a silly mistake. Because the one thing I hate, my pet peeve, is when kids go 3 minus or 2 minus 3 and they write 1 or something, right? It should be -1, right? And that's frustrating because now you're going to get the wrong answer because you made some silly sign error, right? Which could have been avoided by using the tiles, right? Or just like spending a little bit more time. I'm not saying we're going to walk around with tiles in our pockets and do math and things like that, right? But if we spend the appropriate amount of time doing this, you won't mix up the fact that 2 minus 3 is -1, okay? And 3x take away 4x, sorry, I'm missing one, should not be positive, right? So this is you representing the problem at hand, okay? And then from here, your second step is to just group them. So put all the rods together, put all the singles together, the little single squares, and then create your 0 pairs, and that's your final answer. It's fully simplified. Simplify the expression, okay? So you just start grouping things, right? This is you moving things around. So I would say, okay, let's, the second line here, you'd have like an equal sign, right? So here's your question. I'm just trying to I'm going to give you guys a sheet to work on, right? For the next 2 hours, you guys can bounce in on office hours, and we'll continue this later with harder questions. As you go down the page, you got equal signs, right? So you got 3x, and then you're gonna physically move these -4 rods over to group them with the other rods, right? So you're like, okay, well, let's grab this and move these over. Okay, and now oh, sorry, I want to leave the questions. I'm gonna move them, group the things that are similar together, right? Okay, this is what you guys are at. So if you saw this algebraically, this is what you would see on your page, which is probably something you've seen before. You have 3x minus 4x, and sorry, I promise I have an iPad with a pencil. It'll get better. I'm just using my mouse right now. Okay, plus 2 minus 3. All I've done, if you look at this question, I've taken the information that's there, all my fruit that's just been thrown at me, and I've organized it accordingly. So you would have an equal sign here, right? Now you guys can just go like this. Your next line is going to be just grouping, or sorry, creating the 0 pairs. Okay, so let me get out of the pencil. So you're like, okay, no problem. Let's grab 3 of these guys. We'll put them down here. You're doing the math now, in either in your head, on your calculator, however it is you're doing it. You're creating 0 pairs. Okay, you're doing the math of 3 minus 4 rods. That's what the x is. Rods are different from the numbers, so you're doing different calculations. You cannot mix those two things together, right? Sorry, I want to copy paste those. Right, you're going here, and you're gonna, here, let me turn it on its side so we create the 0 pairs the same way. Right, and I grab the 3 minuses. Boom. What's left? Well, it looks like I've got a 0 pair here, I've got a 0 pair here, and I've got a 0 pair here. What am I left with? Just one pink rod, right? So a negative here. There's one negative rod, and then you do the same thing here. 0 pairs. What are you left with? One little negative square. What is your final answer? it looks like this algebraically, or like when you write it down, it looks like this. Negative x minus 1. That is your simplified version of this expression or box of fruit that's been thrown at you. Okay, all you have done is you have collected the like terms, right? You organize, create zero pairs, it spits out your answer. That is all I'm asking you to do for this morning, okay? So when you guys go into your course now, I'm going to stop recording, okay, somehow.